Well, hello and good afternoon, and welcome to another show and Praise Talk Show. My name is Praise. I hope that I've met you well indeed in the comfort of your home. We want to thank God for another Wednesday and another week and another blessing. You know, every day I see every day as an open check that the Lord gives to us, and so whatever we do with it is what really matters. Whether we do it in in benefits to the Lord, or we do it to benefit to humanity, or to benefits to ourselves, is really what really counts. So my prayer is that all of us would use time wisely. I was sharing the other day that in spite of everything else that is going, life is still moving. The clock has not stopped. It's snowing outside for some of us. It's sunshine. The sun is shining outside for some of us. The weather has not stopped. The seasons of life has not stopped. So we must make adjustments to understand, with whatever is going on around us, let us make the right adjustment, because life is not stopping. Nothing is stopping the cycles of life from moving forward. And we must find ways to make adjustments. I was teaching about the ant and the lessons from the ant, how persistent it is, how it makes food in the summer, and and hides or then uses up what it's gathered in the summer in the winter time when you and I don't see it. So whatever we do, the seasons of life is so important. The ant is very resilient, and they do not work alone. They're always working numbers. They have what you and I would call division of labor. They work with people. So even in this time, try and connect with somebody. Try and have a conversation with someone. Don't be alone by yourself. Don't just, be stuck by yourself and thinking that there's nobody out there for me. Or why don't you reach out to someone? Connect with somebody today. Like you're watching me today, connect to someone. Invite someone to this conversation today. Is a very, very important conversation for every one of us that will be listening. I have my guest, who is not new to Praise Talk Show. She's been a guest on Praise Talk Show a couple of times, and also been a guest, also ministered to the women at church. She has a very powerful story. She's been through quite a lot. One would say been through the rock and a hard place, and she's come out, very strong. And she's going to be talking about her story and about her book. Her name is Shelah Sarah Ahava, which is her pen name. She's a spiritual education coach and an author of self-help books to raise humanity's consciousness of self-improvement, spiritual growth, and good connection. She's going to be telling us a little bit more about herself and about her story. Please help me welcome Shelah Harris, Dr. Shelah Harris. Welcome. Let me get that right.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for
Welcome. You really, those who followed your story would know that you were, around the world giving us updates, what was going on, how the course was going. So I must celebrate you, and I must give you that. God bless you, Sheila. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. I am fine, yes.
It's always good to see you. You have a permanent smile on your face,
Yeah. When people always say that about me, it's hard to get the smile off my face. You can only get it off my face for a few hours, but not forever. That's how
Praise God. Praise God. And something else, someone said to me a while ago that you don't look like what you've been through. So I'm going to use that on you today. You don't look like what you've been through, Sheila. Especially with that permanent smile on your face, and people see the progress of your story. They don't know what's behind that curtain or what's happened behind the scene, do they?
Absolutely, absolutely. My kids also say the same, and they said, "Mom, why don't you look like you're sad?" I said, life was never created for us to be sad, but we
That's
will figure
right.
it out one day.
Right, that's right. So I celebrate your resilience. I celebrate the courage that you have. I celebrate, what you represent for women out there, and all the achievements that God has allowed you to to achieve. Celebrate that. So I remember the very first time that we met. We were talking about your book, My Business is My Business.
Yeah.
And you had some other thriving business going, online business going, courses that you were doing going. You had life going for you, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed.
And I was like, wow, look at that woman, look at all the things that she's been able to get her hands on. And you were such, I mean, I still admire you, but you were somebody that I really admired, and it's like, wow, how can I get to that place? Not to achieve and to match what you, but just to at least get somewhere. Get somewhere when you see another woman has got to, but something happened. So tell us about, first of all, where you were, because that's another place we still have to celebrate those things, because
Yeah.
God got you there.
Yes. Well,
So tell us about
I,
it, but
I
yeah.
I thought I had life all figured out. My
Okay.
career was taking a very strong path to the top. Everything I did in my career was very fast and very successful. And I sometimes wondered, I started off from, I have to tell people this all the time, and people don't understand this. I didn't come from a rich family, but I have a very big dream inside me. And
Okay.
I remember as a child when my grandparent told me that I was not going to make it to secondary school. I
Okay.
could see myself in front of my grandparents telling that no, I am going to make it to secondary school. Then I'm going to go to university. Then I'm going to go to the highest. And I didn't have a clue how any of this was going to happen, because if I was looking what was going on around me, it's not possible.
Hmm.
But there was something inside me that pushed me. I obviously educated myself very, very quickly. And I have to say that I had the power of God. This was what was pushing me all the time, because I was
Hmm.
always gone into the church to pray, even as a child. And that has always kept me going. So fast forward, when I got to this point where I'd excelled in my career to the point where I was a finance director. I had gone to this point where I was now a consultant in my business, teaching people how to set up a business. Everyone expected everything was going to just carry on like that. Well, I have to say that God has a very different plan. There was something that was going to happen to me, which I never envisaged. I had a setback in my relationship, and this was my marriage. That's the
Hmm.
setback going on. And I've been married for 19 years by this time, and I was now about to close that relationship. And you can imagine if you build a relationship for 19 years,
Hmm.
it's not the easiest thing in life to bring that to an end.
Yeah.
That knocked me off mentally, emotionally,
Hmm.
spiritually. It knocked me off. I was in a dark place, very, very dark place. And
Hmm.
I thought at one point, maybe this was the end.
Hmm.
But I think someone said something to me once. I went to my mom, and it was a relative member that looked at me and said, "Not even a divorce can knock you down." And I was like, inside me, I was crying, but they couldn't see that.
Hmm.
And like you said, the smile was always on the outside. I never take that smile out, regardless of what was going on.
Yeah.
And so I got to this point where the divorce was very, very bitter, very, very bitter. I don't even
Hmm.
want, it was very bitter and very protracted too. And a lot of times people will say to me that, Sheila, you don't look like you are going through all of these things. What is your
Hmm.
secret? Why are you not falling apart like other women will fall
Yeah.
apart? Well, I had one secret. The secret is I don't have anywhere else to go except to hold on to God.
Yeah.
So I reached this point where I thought, you know what? I don't know what this relationship breakdown is all about, but I am going to
Hmm.
try and figure it out. As painful as it is, I need to find out what life is all about. Why
Hmm.
this happened to me, because I wasn't expecting something like this to happen to me. I hated the word divorce. I don't want anything to do with that word. I didn't want my
Hmm.
children to be involved in any of that.
Yeah.
But then it happened. It's like what we fear the most, like Job,
Yeah.
comes to your doorstep. And I
Yeah.
had to face it with it.
Yeah.
So I have reached this point where I began to in you know invest my life in studying spiritual texts. I
Okay.
obviously the Bible was one of them. But I began to study all the wisdoms of the sages in different sacred texts. I
Okay.
obviously moved on to do my PhD. I just immersed myself in spiritual education. And then by the time I finished my PhD, I gathered so much wisdom in this study that I thought, okay, this was time for me to reflect and introspect what went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, I was having conversation with the sages in truth. All the texts, I would ask myself questions. What is the meaning of life? And sometimes, as God would have it, sometimes I will wake up in the morning, I get answers just given to me, and I start writing. And then I began to look at some of the things that I was writing. I'm thinking, oh, this didn't come from me. What does it mean? And so I begin to put the pieces together again and begin to make sense. And one of the things that I discovered very quickly was I didn't know what the purpose of life is. I thought the purpose of life is all about me. I thought the purpose of life is just go out there, kill everyone, and conquer everyone. Just be the highest and the best. You know, don't
You
you're not
didn't
taking.
know the purpose of life.
No, I didn't.
And you were you I mean you are in you've celebrated your jubilee birthday, right? So you are we're not giving anything away, but you had got to that place in midlife and achieved so much only to discover you did not know the purpose of life.
Absolutely. I did not know what the purpose of life. I did not know what relationship is all about. And I certainly do not know what love is all about. In fact, I'd always question because I had to ask myself during the breakup of the relationship, if there was love, why am I going through a breakup in a relationship if I do know what love is? If there was
Mm,
empathy and compassion, why am I going through this? And I concluded, obviously, I don't know what love is. Obviously, this was here to give me a lesson, and I needed to go through this to understand what relationship is, what love is all about, what is the purpose of life. And those were the questions that I had in my mind that I wanted answers to, which resulted in this book.
wow. Thank you so much, Sheila. It's February. Many people will be celebrating Valentine's Day, in a few days from now. And it's all about love, but unfortunately, it's not from the right source. We all know. It's not like, and at least when we celebrate Jesus' birthday, we should be celebrating love because God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, but humanity, people, the secular world has created this ambience of, February the 14th, they celebrate the day for lovers. And the question really is, what is love? Because I've been in a conversation in the community that I serve, and we're constantly revisiting issues around relationships. Why do people come together? And just Monday gone past, we spoke about, is love even enough? And we got into conversations around money, status, around this and that. And the bottom line of it is that love was not enough for some people, while there was an argument that love after it all should be enough. I pushed the bar a little bit, and some people said, "Oh, you're pushing the bar a bit. So what if this?" And I was giving us, some different scenarios, because life is full of different scenarios. It's not just one cap that fits all. But what is love, Sheila? Because you've spoken about finding love and fulfillment in your book, which would be released at the end of the month, I believe.
Yes.
So what did you discover about love?
Okay, what I discovered about love is that, firstly, I discovered I am not love, that I am a very egoistic person, that whenever I think about doing things, I think not about anyone else. It's me that I'm thinking about. I discovered that I was anti love. I am ignorant of love. And then I discovered what love truly is. It's about giving to others, serving others, taking their needs as your needs and making their needs priority. Because where there is love, you will always cover transgression.
Yeah.
And that's when when a person transgress, and I have quite a lot of transgression thrown at my path, which was what the message of what was given to me was, is that God wants us to rise above those transgressions. Hence, love covers all transgressions.
Multitude of sins. Yeah.
In other words, if I become love and I am only concerned about the needs of others, then when they do something, I will not feel offended about it. Rather,
That's
I
very
will
true.
try to get them to this point where they be elevated.
Mm.
I will not complain about them. Rather, I will be in front of God praying for them to be healed or to be developed in the way that they become a perfect self. So I discovered that I was nothing like that, and that all the fighting and the conflict that I had in my relationship was a message to me that I needed to be a person that was more loving than I was. So the quality of who I am came to me, and it makes me see the difference between me and the God that created this universe. In other words,
Mm.
for the first time, I got it in my own consciousness that everything that is given to us as humanity, everything is given to us. And that quality of giving is what love is. But I did not have that because I want to receive. I don't want to give. And everything that comes to me, I just want to keep it to myself. I don't want to give. When someone makes, I remember once a family member said to me, "You are the older one, you should do something better than this." And I'm like, "How dare you?" But that was again a message that I needed to grow up and be a better version of who I am.
Mm.
So in the end, my perception of what we call problem is what changed, because I realized that every time that I go through life, whatever it is that I'm feeling, if I feel it as bad, that's because I am not in the state of love yet. Because when I feel it as though this is an opportunity to give to a person, then I can transmute that bad into good feeling, which is God, because God is good and God is giving.
It's love.
So it's that internal quality in me that came out so vividly in my experience and my all the research that I did. I then realized, okay, now I can understand all my problems in relationship was around lack of love. And all my relationship problem was a message from God that you need to change to become like me. Otherwise,
Mm.
this problem is not going.
Wow. You need to become like him. Wow. And how long was this journey? Because I know you traveled quite a lot. I guess to discover different areas, different have different understandings. How long was this journey?
Well, it started in 2011. Yeah,
11.
yeah. I have a sick. I probably have said this to you. You probably don't remember. There was a gentleman in 2011 when I went to speak at your church in May. There was a gentleman that came by the name of Israel Moshe. You probably don't remember. He and I
I
touched
remember.
base subsequently. Okay, he and I touched base subsequently. My journey started from that conversation I had with him.
Wow. That was the very first time you spoke at a conference, at a seminar, workshop that I organized. Yes, I
Yes, he
remember
did.
that. Right. So
Yeah.
that's how the journey started.
That's how the journey started
And we're
because
in 2021. So that's 10 years ago.
yes, absolutely.
It's taken you 10 years for the, on this journey of discovery of what love is. This just shows me that, many a times I think we place some what would I call it, some demands on us that are not practical, right? So somebody goes through a breakdown, somebody goes through a situation, and they discover that they're broken, discover that they're empty, discover that, they really have not known what life is about. And all of a sudden we have this, this expectation that within 6 months and within, a year, you should just pull yourself back together. You should just get it all, sorted out, get your mind fixed. Sometimes I don't even know, we have this expectation, just get your mind fixed, get yourself together, get yourself going, because, it's time to get back on. Instead of allowing, no baby grows overnight. We do grow, but we don't grow overnight, but we have this, expectations on humanity that is really not practical. It's just not, and that's why we all face disappointments when, all these expectations are around us. And it's like, if you don't do it, then you're not a person. If you don't do it, then you're not strong enough. If you don't get it right within 6 months, then you're not genuine. There's so many things we use to judge ourselves. But tell us, 10 years, what are the things that you did? What are the discoveries that you experienced over this 10 years of discovery? That one, you didn't know anything about life. Number two, my God, Shelah, who would have thought with all the things that you were able to accomplish, you can say, I didn't know about life, and then the journey started 10 years only to discover. What was it? Tell us the process.
Okay, the process, first of all, is that I sunk to depression, anxiety, and if I was to show you my picture, the physical picture of myself, you would not recognize me.
Wow.
Because I remembered when I took those pictures and I was looking at them, I remembered I went to Boots and I showed someone the pictures about 7 years down the line. And I said, do you know this person? And the lady said, no. And I said, that's me. She looked at me and she looked at the picture and said, you got to be joking. I said, yes, it's me. And she said, what happened? I said, well, that's another day for a story. So the struggle was when a person doesn't know their purpose, every event that is presented to them is going to be interpreted as a loss if they don't gain from it.
Wow.
And then they're going to spend more time complaining, crying, blaming, and all the rest of it. And that's exactly what I did when the most important thing, my home, had to be severed from that relationship. So I sunk emotionally, spiritually. It's as though everything just left. My world disappeared in front of me.
Wow.
That process of coming back out of that darkness is not an easy one. And I remembered it went on so long. And then I realized one day that the reason why this was going on so long is because I have forgotten who I am. And the truth of who I am is this. I am a child of God and I'm connected to the source of life.
Yeah.
I had put my empire that I built as the source of my life. And I had put that as the most important thing.
Thank you.
That controls everything in my life.
Yeah.
And when it disappeared, I sunk. So it took a long time back for me to recognize that those things that I built were not the source of my life. And it's easy for us to build idols.
True.
And think that they are the most important thing. And for me, it suddenly made me realize what the Bible said. Abraham to leave his father's idol worshiping to go to a new place. And for me, that came like, so it's a struggle. I had to begin to realize that something had gone wrong. What was succeeding in my life? Where was the source of that success? And then I made the way back out. Almost like the story of the prodigal son.
Yeah.
I had to make my way back home. In that period of making my way back home, a lot of things happened. There was disappointment, there was what I would call betrayal and everything. These people that I thought betrayed me, disappointed me, it's as though I put them in this imprisonment where I now have to be the guard in this prison that I put them, because I hold them responsible for everything that was going on in my life. What finally did it for me was it affected my health. My health took a very bad turn. I have not been to the doctors for 12 years, and I was now frequently attending surgery.
Wow.
Physically, I was not able to walk at one point because that was what anger did to me. I was that angry. And I remember one day I woke up in pain and I could not physically walk, and I was in pain. And I held on and I said, God, I can see the connection between my anger and my inability to walk physically. I've got to let go of this anger.
Yeah.
I've got to make way for a space in my life for love. Please help me. It didn't happen overnight. This was a process. It was almost like a struggle between what I know I should do and what I was doing. And I will never forget, it was 2018, even though I was writing the book, 2018, I was in my shower. I held on to that shower and praised. I burst out crying. I don't know where that cry came from. I cried for almost like 2 hours non-stop, screaming and crying. And I just was crying, I need help. I cannot do this. I need to forgive. I cannot release them. I have to forgive. Help me to forgive them. And after crying that period of time, what then happened was a miracle. The next day, I picked up a book and I started writing a prayer for every one of these people I thought had dealt me the worst thing in my life. And as I was praying for them, I was asking for their forgiveness and my forgiveness as well. And I prayed for them, and I remembered I took some of those prayers and I put them in the Bible and I put them underneath my pillow. And every time a thought would come back to remind me of what it did, I now have that prayer underneath my pillow to go back to and say, I'd already let this go. I'm not going to bring this back again. It's gone. It's dusted. I had to test myself in this journey. Have I truly forgiven? And you know what? God always put us through that process again to test if we are forgiven. I had to meet face to face with the individual that this struggle was with. And the first time I knew that I had now felt love in my life was when I met with him. And I looked at him and I felt I wanted the best for him. The anger is gone. I had no shade of anger, not a shade. In fact, on the contrary, I wanted the best for him. And I started praying for him. Then I knew something has changed. And then I realized that all the books that I have read in the past have missed something out of the equation. It's not possible for you to love another person until they do something hateful towards you and you ask God to help you to love them. Because we as human beings, The reason why we feel hate is because we are anti-God. We want to just receive for ourselves. But to feel the love that God feels for us, somebody has to do something that is so raw that cuts the nerve in your heart.
Hmm.
And only God can bring that bond back between you and that person. And for the first time, I recognize, now I know what love is. That someone could do something to you that really hurts, but yet you feel love about it. So the
You
journey
know,
then becomes, yeah, a
yeah.
very different journey.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sheila. Because that's a, that's a very, very delicate point that you just touched. There are a lot of people, and I found myself praying for, people in that area just today and yesterday on the prayer line that I run in the mornings about, people being stuck in the past. And it's almost like, hi, John from, okay, okay, okay. All right. God bless you, John. Um, and it's been a place where people have not been able to move on from the place of hurt, the place of brokenness, the place of disappointment. And I think also when disappointments come, there's an aspect of shame that people experience. Like, how can I tell the story? How can I tell people, what will people think of me? All these things. And you just said it really, it's all about us, really. It's just stuck in our own world. But the shame is about how we are processing all these, or putting meaning to all these events around the situation. And what we don't realize is that it makes us as well prisoners of life, because it
Mhm.
holds us bound, like you can't move. And it's almost like a chain that, so when somebody else comes your way, you're being held back because of the memory of the past. Somebody else, showing you an act of kindness, you're being held back because of the experience of the past. And people are stuck. People are stuck. It's like they can't move. People are vulnerable. They can't, it's like there's so much brokenness that is going on in lives. What do you have to say to people that are where they are? Because you've been there.
Yeah.
You've been there. You've it's hit you hard. I remember, many years of, years ago when disappointment hit me, and and sometimes when I share, people look at me like, wow, you curl. My body wrapped, it was curled in because of hurt. But thank God that I'm no longer there and I can speak of. But how did you deal with yours? Or what can you say, sorry, to those that are in there right now that needs to come
Yeah.
out?
I think it's part of nature because we are anti-love. By nature, we have this big ego, which is all about us, about us, about us. The shame you are going to feel, I felt myself. Because imagine, how do you come out and tell people, you just paint a picture of how people perceive me. And I was coming now with a space where I have nothing to tell you anymore about home. So
Mm,
how do you tell people that? You feel ashamed. But this
mm,
same shame, this feeling of shame that is given to bring us to a state of humbleness.
yeah.
It brings us to this point where, what are you really ashamed of?
Mm,
Ashamed of finding out that you are really not yet a perfect image of God,
okay.
because that's what you really are ashamed about. That's what I was ashamed about. That's what people are ashamed about. Because if you are perfect, you have nothing to be ashamed of. But
That's
when
very true.
situation happens that shows us our imperfection, the ego in us does not want that imperfection to come out. And so
Mm,
we feel this shame, and then next to the shame is anger. And that's why we go chasing people, that you are the cause of my problem. Because
mm,
the shame cannot be dealt with. But the shame really is, I feel below what I supposed to be. But in truth, we are put below what we are supposed to be, and we need to walk towards being what we are supposed to be.
True.
If we understand, remember what I said, if we understand the purpose of life, that the purpose of life is for us to unfold that which is within, that is yet to be born, that has not been realized in us yet. And so when we get the experience that knocks us off our socks, it is really for us to know we are not there yet, and we need to walk in tandem with each other and with God to get there.
Yeah.
This emotional shame and guilt put us stuck into imperfection, and we need to rise above it through prayer. Ultimately, we will always feel it, but we can rise above it as well. How I did it, that's precisely what I did. Prayer. Prayer, the number of people who prayed for me, I probably don't even know them. You know, prayer, prayer, prayer. We need to be in an environment where we are praying for others and others are praying for us. That's where your strength comes from. That's, don't buy no story that you are going to be self-made whatever. There's no self-made nonsense. It doesn't exist. Honestly, it doesn't exist. We have a lot of people selling nonsense in the world. It doesn't exist. You will soon be kicked off that theory in your head, and then you will know you're not self-made nothing. There is only one self-made something, and that's God. That's who made everything. And we need to anchor ourselves in that always. Prayer is the weapon to wipe away something called shame, guilt, because these are things that takes us away from the connection of God.
Yeah.
But once we are close to God, we feel confidence and security. And the shame and the guilt leaves. We become more wise and discerning as to what the experience is all about. It's about cleansing, bringing us to perfection.
Yeah.
And shame and guilt, they will be there, but you can cover them.
Thank you so much, Shelah. Thank you. And thank you for touching on that, because that's another point that I raised recently, where people have this notion that they can do it by themselves. They can make it by themselves. And, when we look at God's own process and his system, there's no child. Even Jesus was born into, a family. And which shows that we all need support. You need some kind of, guidance in life, whether you're with a biological parent, whether you're with a legal guardian, whatever it is, And another thing that struck my mind recently, talking about the family, is that when there isn't an organic home, so I use the word organic because every child is meant to be born into a home. You hear the government will now create an alternative which is really meant to mirror. Unfortunately, it's not been like that, but it's really meant to mirror what an environment that a child should grow in. So they have created what they call homes, foster homes. They're called homes, homes for children. So it really, every single one of us is entitled to an environment where you are nurtured and you are helped and you are, guarded and, corrected to grow. So it amazes me when you hear people in adulthood, and there's a perception that when you become an adult, then you should know how to work everything out, So probably that's the reason why people get to say, oh, well, I have to work it out by myself, or I have to do this by myself. But life is never meant to be figured out by ourselves. That's why we still have, education systems. That's why we have training systems. That's why we have coaches. That's why we have mentors. You understand? Even if friends around you, spiritual teachers, because all these are systems that are meant to help us along the journey of life. So it's interesting that you said all that nonsense about doing it for yourself. It's just not real. And I've come to that place to understand it is not real. Stop trying to work things out by yourself. You know, you can't even run life by yourself. Everything is connected. Every single thing is
Absolutely.
connected. So nobody can, you know, that thing of being disconnected from humanity, disconnected from family and friends. You know, I can't trust anyone. I don't want to know anyone. Hello. The fact that you're telling me is mean that you need someone to tell. You need someone to even tell that you can't trust anyone. You know, you have to be around people to tell them that you don't trust anyone. So it just shows how, you know, we get so occupied, or we get so blinded by, you know, circumstances that we have, you know, termed negative,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
around us. But thank you so much for that discovery. You know, it's taken you 11 years to get to where you are. We've got a few more minutes. Tell us about the book, Conversations with the Sages.
Okay, Conversation with the Sages. Yes, this is the book which compile answers to 7 important questions, which those are questions that many people will ask at least by the time they get to 45.
Okay.
The first question, what is the purpose of life? Second question, is there such a thing called faith?
Is there such a thing called faith?
Yes, as in predestined, are we predestined to
Oh,
achieve
faith.
certain
Okay,
things?
yeah, yeah,
No.
okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what is the reason for relationship breakdown? I think everyone should know that. What is love? Because we have a very narrow view of what love is all about.
Mm.
Then there's a question there about why have I not achieved my highest and best self? But that's a very interesting conversation by itself.
Okay.
We all want to be the best, but we don't want to, we want others to treat us the best, but we don't want to treat others as the best. Well,
Mm.
the fourth question in itself, the purpose of life, was what threw me back, because I remember reading it and then realized that the purpose of life is for us to be in harmony, love, and perpetual happiness. But
Mm.
yet, we're not there. And the reason why is because the essence of life is a giving force. And until we become that quality of a given force, then we are stopping ourselves from entering the purpose of life. So no matter what we do, we're all connected. But whenever, if I treat you bad today, if I say something bad about you today, guess what? I've just blocked the force of life
Mm.
between myself and God and
I
to you.
am locking myself.
Yes.
Wow.
So every time we are not in a space of love to others, we block ourselves from achieving the purpose of life, which is peace, joy, happiness, and love. And I know that we have this incredible ego force in us. We judge others badly. We put them down all the time. Well, that blocks the force of life.
Keep going. I'm listening.
So,
I'm
okay.
listening. I'm
In
like,
that,
wow, okay.
so,
Because we get
so
so stuck in our world, Sheila.
that,
We get so
so,
stuck in our world, you know?
in that, yes, in that regard, that was the most important, profound finding, because I generally realized that, oh my goodness me, how often we are going to pray for happiness and love. The reality is what we're looking for, the object that we are saying we want, is not really what we're looking for. That's why when we have a big house, a mansion, or a big car, they will be like, yes, it's fine. But a few days later, you're back to zero, because you will never get the source of life, happiness from it. Because
Mm-hmm.
the source of life is your connection with others and your creator, God. So whenever we are not connected with one another in a harmonious manner, speaking gossip, slandering, and doing anything profoundly wrong to others, we cut the life force between God and us and the rest of humanity. And if many of us are doing so, we're creating darkness in our environment, the opposite of happiness, which is what we truly want. And that's where, when the book goes and explains that, and I provide all my reflection of what I now learned, the next bit about relationship breakdown, which I really wanted to know about, if we are not love in our attitude towards others, we will always draw relationship in our lives, which showing us that we are still not loved yet. So when we are in good relationship, I interviewed people who have long-standing good relationship in their family. Each and every one of them that I interviewed said the same thing. I looked for those who have good relationship. They all from different parts of the world all say the same thing. If you do not learn how to forgive your partner daily, if you see their flaws all the time and talking about their flaws all the time, you are exhibiting that you are not yet loved. And there is no God that is going to bypass and say, oh, you know what? I will just allow you to carry on doing so. No, God wants us all to grow to perfection. And as a result of that, the problems are indicators of where we need to change our qualities. And so I went back and looked at myself and I'm like, gosh, I wish they taught me this in school. I would have made sure I did not do A, B, C, D in my relationship. I would not have done X, Y, Z in my relationship. And these studies are really not about the other person because they apply to you and me. Nothing to do with the other person because the attitude to the other person should always be love. So even if they do something wrong, what did you do to exercise love quality towards them? Did you blame them? Did you complain about them? Did you shout at them? Did you tell the entire world about what they did so that everyone will see them as a bad person? Because every time we do that, we cut the life force between us and God. So in the end, I reached the conclusion in the book that our relationship problems are an indicator of what we need to change in us. So the people that we blame have nothing to do with the story. It's about the attitude towards them that is the problem. Tell me what you want.
Our response. I mentioned that this morning on the prayer line is our response, not what the person does. And really, in reality, all of this needs to be balanced. So if I'm in a relationship and I have such a mindset, the other person must have such a mindset to bring that balance, you know. And if we both think alike, that we forgive daily, we don't pile it up until I've spoken about it, you know. It's like I need to get it off my chest first before I can release and forgive. Do it, forgive daily, hallelujah. You know, if we're able to do that and able to walk, you know, in openness of mind, you know, this is what's happened, but you know, I release you and I forgive you, then life would be so enriched, it would be so refreshing for everyone, you know. And indeed, God would abide in our homes. You know, you just said something that is so vital, how we think that we are making room for God and we are not, you know, when we justify the things that we do because it's pleasing to our eyes and it satisfies the flesh. But is it really satisfying God? You know, the decisions that we make to hold on to certain things or to do things to some people in the name of I got them back, you know, they thought they had this and I just, you know, and is God really saying thumbs up or is it saying, oh no, I wish you didn't? It's you know, these are questions, you know, that we must really be ask ourselves and we must be truthful to ourselves. I know we cannot tell people what to do. I am a very firm believer that I cannot change people, you know, but on the other end, we can do something about how we respond. It's a challenge. It's not easy.
It is indeed. It is. There is one thing I just want to say though, and I think for me the other thing I learned, you touched on it a few minutes ago, is that when we choose relationships that we enter, especially romantic ones, we don't know how we choose them. We are choosing them from the level of our consciousness. We are choosing them from either ignorance or a space of knowledge. And very often we do not understand that the relationship that we chose at the time we chose them, they are a reflection of where we are in our own spiritual development. And so whatever unfolds from that relationship is as it's supposed to be, to bring you to the space where you get to understand who you are and what you need to develop about yourself. Nobody comes into your life for no good reason. There is a law of attraction. You have something common. There is something that you both are going to discover about each other. If we want people to be perfect, then we also have to be perfect.
Indeed.
If they're not perfect, then because we are not perfect, that's why we are with them. And so we need to understand God has to be in the midst of this relationship for it to work.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Shelah. Give us some details as to how we can get the book.
Well, the book it's in Amazon. It's in Amazon. I am intending by the end of this month, it's going to be launched, and then there will be 90 days when people could get the book for free through Kindle device. You don't need to have the Kindle device itself. As long as you download the app. I will send that data to you, please, so that you can share it in please, please talk show or any, in your contacts. You could share it with them. I want as many people to get this book and read this book because it will help people understand life a bit better. Because that dark space that people are in, it's out of ignorance. There's something in the Bible that people perish because of lack of understanding. When we don't know what life is, we treat life as though life is all about deceiving. But when we know what life is, we bring a different perception in our experiences, and we can rise up quicker and move forward with our life on a day-to-day basis. So yes, you will get a link to it when it's published.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that. So for those that are listening, or you just heard what Shelah said, the book would be available for 90 days for free, and the link would be sent to myself. So if you're interested and you'd like to get a copy, inbox me on Facebook. And when I say inbox me, don't forget, it's only for the book. Okay? Only inbox me for the book, for the link for the book. Thank you very much for that. Because sometimes people just cross boundaries sometimes on social media. So I just had to really emphasize the fact that if you'd like to get a copy of the book, please inbox me to let me know that you'd like to have a link for the conversation with the sages. And what date? Do you have a release date yet, Shelah? So that people can manage expectations.
The release date is the 25th of February.
Okay.
So 25th of February.
Okay, the release date is 25th of February. Okay, I think I know the John that is communicating with me. John, please, I haven't been able to read your message in details, but inbox me or let's chat on WhatsApp because I think you have my number. I'll be able to answer the question that you are asking. Or maybe I'll send the question to Shelah and she will be able to answer the question and I'll send the question to you, okay? Because I can see he's asking a question there about love and law of attraction and God and something, but I haven't been able to read it in details. I do apologize about that. Okay, so you mentioned about the date, the release date?
The 25th of February.
Okay, the 25th of February. Okay, so we only have 15 days to go for the release of the book. So please, if you were to make a request, please bear with us because the release date is the 25th of February. Now, it's Valentine's coming. Shelah, I know you don't just believe in just one day. We'll talk about love. We've got a couple of minutes to go. What do you have to say to those that are enjoying their relationships now? What do they do to keep it going?
Well, there are two things I have to say. You could enjoy Valentine's Day. It's the day of love. But we have to understand that love we're talking about in Valentine's Day is a romantic love. It's not
Mm,
unconditional love. The reason why we have such a high level of breakdown in relationship is indeed because there's a big difference between a romantic love and unconditional love. Now, romantic love is all about as long as you make me happy, I'm fine
mm,
with you. As
mm,
long as you make me happy, we are fine. But hey, if I should come down a bit and not make you happy, that relationship is no, no, I'm gone. So we need to
mm,
put these types of relationship in where they belong. So what the love I'm talking about here is true love. This is a love that stays whether you offend me or not. That doesn't mean that if you offend me, I will keep you in my space, but
mm.
in my heart, I will
Yeah.
still be connected with you. I will not be planning to do something divisive that will hurt you. That love is unconditional. I will be praying for you. I will wishing the best for you. In fact, I want you to succeed. That is unconditional love. February 14, unfortunately, is not unconditional love. It is what we
Mm,
call romantic love. And people
mm.
should celebrate it if they want to. But let's be honest here. Majority of those type of love do not last. And in fact, the people who have been in long-term relationship, they will tell you that the reason why they've been married for 40 years, if the marriage is still happy marriage, not marriage that's they're together but it's not happy, it's because we've transcended romantic love. Our
Wow.
love is not about the physicality anymore. It is more
Mm.
about an internal connection. And we should be
Okay.
striving for internal connection, not external connection.
You are so right. Thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing this your story with us. I hope somebody has been inspired. I have been inspired. I hope you've been blessed. Help us to spread the word out. We're looking forward to the release of your book on the 25th of February. If you'd like to have a copy of that, please don't forget to inbox me. Help. Sheila's just given us an advice. Remember, the 14th of February is for romantic love, but love goes beyond the 14th of February. And would I be having a conversation with you by then? It would be next week, so we would have gone past it. But we've had a really deep conversation about what true love is. I hope that you have been empowered by this. Agape love is extended to humanity. Make sure you love yourself, love somebody, love the Lord. God is love. And so if we don't know how to love, discover God and discover the love that He has. Well, Sheila, thank you again. Thank you to LCBN TV Network for hosting us this afternoon. Until I'm back your way next week, stay on top, love someone with the love of the Lord. Love someone with everything that God has given to you. And, you would see how your life would flourish. I love you all. God bless you. See you soon. Bye for now.